In this video, I will tell you about simple object snap tools. The object snap option comes into picture when you want to make geometries with respect to the existing geometries or their points. For example, here we have these geometries, and now I'll select the line tool, and let's say that I want to start this line from this endpoint somewhere here. So when I move my cursor close to this endpoint, this small endpoint box will appear, and also on the tooltip you'll see that its name will appear here as endpoint. Now even if I don't click on this exact endpoint, the cursor will still snap to that endpoint, and that's because we have this object snap option active. Now you can turn it off by simply pressing the F3 key, and when this option is off, there will be no point at all on any of these existing geometries. So now I'll simply click on this to turn it off, and now I'll click anywhere in the drawing area, and now I'll move my cursor close to the next endpoint, and now we don't have any endpoint or any midpoint or any other point here for the reference, and it will be very difficult for us to exactly click at the point. Let's say that I have clicked at this point. Now let's see how accurate I am. So I'll zoom into this area, and absolutely this drawing is not correct. We want to click at this point, but our geometry is here, which is not the correct one. So we need to ensure that object snap is always on to make accurate drawings. So now I'll zoom out, I'll remove these geometries, and now I'll click on this object snap option to turn it on. As I already mentioned, you can also turn it on by pressing the F3 key. Now there are a couple of points which are recognized by this object snap, and you can see all those points in this menu. So click on this small arrow, and there will be a list of points, and all of these points are recognized by the object snap. So there are check boxes or check mark in front of some of these icons, and some of the icons are without these check marks. So currently the object snap will only recognize the points which have these check marks, and it's always advisable to keep only the required number of check boxes active. So don't make all of these check boxes active, otherwise there will be a conflict of different object snap points. So for now we have this endpoint, midpoint, center, node, quadrant, intersection, and extension points active, and currently all of these points can be recognized by the object snap. So let's now go to another line tool, and now I'll move my cursor close to this circle, and here you'll see that we have this quadrant visible. Not only the quadrant, we also have this center point visible. Now all of these points are visible only because object snap is active. So let's turn off this center, and I'll repeat the command, and now I don't have any center point here. So obviously after turning it off, we won't find that, but still we have the quadrant and all the other points here, like endpoint and the midpoint here, which is indicated by this triangle. So you can keep other options active as well here. Now there is one more option here, which is a geometric center. So using this geometric center option, you can snap to the geometric center point of any closed geometry. So here we have a pentagon, and now when I move my cursor close to this point, you'll see that there is a new point here, which is the geometric center. So it's simply the centroid of this geometry, and you can find the geometric center for very irregular kind of geometry also. For example, here I'll make a drawing with polyline, and I'll make a very random geometry just like this. Now in this case also you can find the geometric center using that object snap, but the only condition is it should be closed like this, and it should be a single unit. Now I'll go to the line tool and move my cursor here, and we have this geometric center here. So in this way you can find the geometric center quite easily using this object snap tool, and you can also see some of the other object snaps like the node, which is simply a point which we have already seen. So you need to make sure that point or node is active in order to snap to it. We have the quadrant option, which is the quadrant of this circle or an arc, and we have the intersection. So intersection is simply the point which is something like this. So in this case we have these two lines intersecting, and if you want to snap to this intersection point, make sure that intersection is active. And now when I select any command and I move close to this intersection point, there will be this intersection object snap. Now let's look at some other options here, and we have the extension here. Now using the extension, you can create any line or even an arc in the same direction, or you can extend that geometry. So I'll select the line tool for explaining this, and here we have this polygon. Now let's say that we want to extend this line, and for that I'll just click at any of its endpoints and now move my cursor in its direction, and you can see that we have this extension on the tooltip, and also the cursor is moving exactly along the direction of the line. So that's simply extension. You can also use this extension for an arc. For example, I'll select the arc tool here, click on this point, and now let's see here. So we can see that this geometry is extending exactly along the circumference of this arc. You can access these object snap options directly from the right contextual menu as well. So in the situations where there are plenty of object snap points and it becomes a little difficult to select the exact snapping point directly from this object snap menu, then you can use the alternate method, and that's the right contextual menu. For example, here we have this circle. Now let's make a line also in this case. So I'll click at this point, quadrant, and I'll join it with this point. Now in this case, we have the midpoint of this line exactly on the center of the circle. So I'll simply move this line a little bit towards left, just like this. And now the center of this point is very much close to the center of this circle. So now I'll go to the line tool, and now I'll try to snap to this point. And now if I move my cursor, I can only snap to this midpoint. Although I don't want to snap to the midpoint, I actually want the center of this circle. Let's now check whether we have the center active or not. Yes, we don't have it active. Let's make it active. Now move here. Now again we have the midpoint here, although I have turned it on, but still we have the midpoint here. So in these situations you can use the right contextual menu. So for that, simply press and hold the shift key and then right click. Now you'll see all the object snaps on this list. From here, select the object snap which you want to choose. For example, in this case I want center, and simply go to that point, close to that point, and it will snap only to that point, ignoring all other points. So in this case, I am now able to snap to the center, and here we have the geometry.